Why Republicans are looking forward to California governor recall? The election of a Republican governor in California could have immediate ramifications on the US Senate, where Democrats and Republicans both have 50 members. On September 14, voters in California, America's most populous state and the most formidable bastion of President Joe Biden's Democratic Party, will decide whether they want to oust the incumbent Democrat governor, Gavin Newsom, and replace him with a pro-Trump Republican, which some say could be a real possibility. The Republican Party, which rarely wins statewide elections in the rich West Coast state, is looking at the opening as a chance to score a major symbolic victory, here by capitalizing on resentment against California's Democrat administration. This could help the right-wing party win control of the national legislature, the Senate and the House in countrywide elections next year. What does a recall election mean? A recall election essentially takes place to oust someone who is currently in elected office. Different places around the world have different rules on who can be recalled and what conditions should be fulfilled for a recall election to take place. In India, rights to recall exist in some states at panchayat and municipal levels. But in the US, citizens are empowered to replace not just local level officials but even senators, parliamentarians, and governors equivalent to chief ministers. In the US, California is among 20 states that allow voters to recall a sitting governor, as per Associated Press report. In California's recall election, voters are asked two questions. First, whether they want to replace an elected representative, in this case the governor, and two, if yes, who the replacement should be. In the first question, if a majority voters choose to remove the incumbent official, it leads to the latter gaining recall. If this happens, the person who wins the highest share of votes among the list of challengers in the second question is declared the victorious replacement. Why are Republicans optimistic about winning through this process? In the two-question system, the winning replacement only has to get the highest number of votes cast in the second question, even if that means garnering only a fraction of the votes received by the loser of the first question. It's the ousted incumbent. Some have argued that this is unconstitutional, since a challenger gets to become governor only by winning questions 2 on plurality and not through a popular statewide vote that ousted incumbent had won by a majority. The Republicans, who lack overwhelming support in the deeply democratic state, are looking forward to this because they had last broken a democratic winning streak by the same process in 2003, when the candidate Arnold Schwarzenegger won a recall election with only 48.6% of the vote. The actor turned politician then served as governor until 2011, when the Democrat again occupied that post. Are Democrats worried about a 2003 like upset? Democrats are worried about pent-up anger among Californians against the state aggressive pandemic restriction, as well as their party's older policies, which has high taxes and water rationing to combat intense droughts. High housing prices have also sparked resentment. In offering an alternative to voters, Republicans are giving the examples of states and they are ruling such as Texas and Florida, whose conservative governors have ensured low regulations and opposed risk mandates. Another cause of worry for the Democrat is anger against their governor, Gavin Newsom, who drew flack last year after dining at an exclusive restaurant in Napa Valley with friends and lobbyists, despite himself mandating Californians to stay home for safety. What could a Republican victory mean for national politics? A conservative victory in California could lift Republican spirits after losing the White House and both houses of legislature to the Democrats. They are now campaigning to win some of their power back in the midterm elections in November 2022. As per New York Times podcast, the election of Republican governor in California could also have immediate ramifications on the US Senate, where Democrats and Republicans both have 50 members, and Biden's party only holds power because of Vice President Kamala Harris' tie-breaking vote. This is because, as per the podcast, California's long-term Senator Dianne Feinstein is expected to retire before her term ends, and if she retires before that, the governor gets to name her replacement. If such a scenario were to occur, a Republican governor would be able to deliver to the party the Senate with a 51-49 majority. Thank you.